Chapter 12. I don't see Daisy again until we're back at school. After the promised text never happened, I tried phoning, texting and knocking on her door several more times over the days following Boxing Day. She never opened the door, never picked up the phone, but I did receive a text one night saying, "Stop." I thought long and hard about telling someone. Of course I did. The evening it all happened, after I'd sat on Daisy's front step for a few hours, I went home rehearsing in my head what I was going to tell Mum. But when I got in, I took one look at her asleep on the sofa, cuddling Jenna, and realised I couldn't. Like she said at Christmas, if her own son slipped her mind then, now, how could Daisy stand a chance staying in there? Jenna needs all her attention at the moment, and that's the way it is. I'm just an afterthought. And if I'm an afterthought, then Daisy would, well, she'd only stay in Mum's brain for about 5 seconds. I thought of calling the police myself and even dialed the number that night before realising how stupid I was going to sound when I spoke to someone. It's not illegal to have a black eye, and it's definitely not illegal to fall down the stairs. But if that's what Daisy's going to tell them, then there'd be nothing they could do, nothing anyone could do. The doorbell rings, Roscoe barks, and I finish my cereal and answer it. It's Daisy. "Morning!" She beams, all sunshine and smiles. I stare at her, like she isn't real. The bruise has completely gone. "Alex!" Mum calls from the kitchen. "Who is it?" I just stare and stare at the smiling girl in the doorway, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "It's me, Mrs. Duncan," Daisy calls back as Mum emerges from behind me in the hallway. "Oh, good morning. I thought you said Daisy wasn't walking with you to school this morning, Alex." "I didn't think she was," I mutter, finally finding my voice and grabbing my rucksack and coat. "Did you have a nice Christmas, Daisy?" Mum asks, scooping up a dribbling Roscoe, who had been slowly making his way towards the open door. "Yes, thank you," Daisy replies without missing a beat. "How was yours?" "Lovely, thank you." "Oh, Alex," Mum hands me my hat from the hook as I step outside. "Don't forget this." "Thanks, Mum, bye." I slam the door behind me. "What?" Daisy asks. "You know what?" Daisy pulls my hat onto her head and pops a piece of bubble gum in her mouth. She turns around and makes sure no one's behind us. "Where has your," I gesture to my eye, "your bruise gone?" "Shh," she hisses, pulling the hat further over her head. "It's faded away. Bruises do that." I stare at her. She can't be serious. "Stop looking at me." "How can I not look at you, Daisy?" I snap. "I haven't seen you in over a week. You haven't been answering my texts or calls. And when we did last see each other," I double check behind me before lowering my voice, "you had a massive black eye." Daisy sighs and blows a large bubble. "You mean the tiny bruise I had?" I can't believe it. Is she really going to downplay this? Pretend it's never happened? This must mean... My stomach drops at the thought that she definitely didn't fall down the stairs. She's hiding something. Someone hurt her. "Daisy," I struggled to keep my voice level to hide the fear and anger bubbling inside of me. We both know it wasn't a tiny bruise. "You're overreacting," she laughs, handing me a piece of bubble gum. "Here, let's see who can blow the biggest bubble." I take it from her silently. The last thing I want to do is let this go and pretend nothing happened. The second to last thing I want to do is shout at her and make her run away again. "Did you hear that? Did you see that one? It was huge." Daisy scrapes the gum off her face, grinning. I manage a small smile back at her, my mind ticking over. I need advice from a grown-up, but not Mum or Dad, Gran. No, she's got enough on her plate. "Good morning." A teacher is stood in the distance by the school gates, greeting the pupils loudly and waving at parents. It's Mrs. Moss. Mrs. Moss will help me. "Come on, your turn," Daisy says impatiently. I chew the gum for a moment and blow a bubble, tiny in comparison to Daisy's. "Pathetic," she snorts. "Watch this." I watch her, my anger melting away at the sight of her frizzy hair and freckles. "Okay, I'll pretend nothing happened, for now. I will help you, Daisy, I promise." 3:03 a.m. That's the time right now. I've been awake since 2 a.m. after a very realistic Jenna nightmare. It was maybe the scariest one yet, and not in a creepy monster way. She was lying on her hospital bed, taking her last breaths. When the machine went beep and she died, nothing happened. Her spirit didn't leave her body. She didn't become a ghost. She wasn't carried up to heaven by angels. She just stayed there, no longer thinking or feeling, waiting to be buried in the cold, dark earth all by herself. She wasn't a person anymore. She was just a body, just the shell of my sister, silent and still, not at peace but not awake. Just dead. And there was nothing anyone could do except cry. We all cried. I even woke up crying. Surely there can't be nothing after death. There must be something after life, something beyond all this. There has to be. Since waking up, I've been sat at my desk, scrapbook open, working on lists of places to go and people to speak to and research to do to find an answer. Mrs. Moss was right. I won't be at peace until I know what's going to happen to Jenna. I don't think Jenna will be at peace either. It needs to happen sooner rather than later, this whole investigation. And once I've counted all the places I need to go and people I need to see, I realise I can't do this alone. I just can't. I carefully write Daisy and Cal at the bottom of one of the lists. I think if I ask them, I won't feel as alone in this. I can get it done much quicker. I can get second opinions when I need it. Might help Daisy take her mind off things. I think about Daisy now and how she acted yesterday, so carefree and confident. It's like when we met back on Boxing Day. She was a completely different person. When I tried to tell Mrs. Moss about the situation at school yesterday, she wasn't very helpful. I understand it must be difficult, Alex, to see your friend upset, she'd said after I told her I knew someone in trouble. Teenagers do go through phases when life can seem very difficult. If you just tell me a little more, I might be able to... No, I shook my head. That's all I can say. She's in trouble. I just know it. In trouble how? Mrs. Moss persisted. With a boyfriend at school? I don't bloody know. How do you know that she's in trouble? Has she told you? Not exactly. She's a student here, Alex, because we have a fantastic pastoral team who... Doesn't matter, I snapped. God, why are people so nosy? All I needed was a simple answer, some plain advice. Not that much to ask, was it? Mrs. Moss sighed. Look, I can't force you to tell me anything, Alex, but if you're not willing to tell me more about your friend, how can I support her? I shrugged. I just wanted some help. She made a note in her notebook. You know I'm always here to help you, and your friend too, if she'd like. Why don't you tell her that she can come to my office anytime, Just say I'm free for drop-ins. You can mention it casually, so that she wouldn't suspect a thing. So I did. I told Daisy that Mrs. Moss had casually mentioned that her door was always open. She didn't really say anything, but she did smile. And I think more than anything, she was happy I was trying to help. That's all I want to do, Daisy. Help you. I placed my pen down, thinking. I have so damn much to think about that sometimes it all becomes a blur. One thing's for sure, though. Now I've told a grown-up about Daisy. I've done what I can do. Until she tells me more about what really happened, my hands are tied. If she does need anything else, she knows I'm here, and Callum too, I guess. But right now, the main thing on my mind is Jenna, and how I need to find her an answer to the biggest question ever. So that means starting this quest properly as soon as I can. There's no more time to waste.